Hello everyone, welcome back. This one's going to be short and sweet. We're going to be talking about actuarial exams and specifically why I decided to take exam FM first rather than exam P. So for a little bit of background on actuarial exams, in the US you can take exams with the Casualty Actuarial Society or the Society of Actuaries. And for each of these societies, you can become an associate and or a fellow once you pass the requisite exams and satisfy all of the requirements. And in order to prepare yourself for the more advanced exams, it's advised that you pass the two preliminary exams, which are the common foundation to begin your journey to becoming a credentialed actuary. So what I mean by that is that no matter whether you go down the Casualty Actuarial Society path or the Society of Actuaries path, you'll be taking the same first two exams. For the Society of Actuaries, these are exams P and FM, and for the Casualty Actuarial Society, they are exams 1 and 2. Now, I've already passed exam FM and taken exam P, so I have experience with both, and I am so glad that I decided to take FM first instead of P. So here's why. The first reason I'm happy that I took exam FM before exam P is simply that FM was way easier for me. And that actually seems to be the experience for most people, which I'm thinking might be because the topics covered on exam FM, like the time value of money, interest rates, annuities, loans, and bonds are generally much easier to conceptualize than the topics covered on exam P, like probability theory, distributions, and mathematical statistics, because they can be more easily imagined and you probably have some firsthand experience with them. With exam P, on the other hand, all of the equations and calculus on that exam tend to make it more difficult. So for a really simple answer as to why I decided to take exam FM first, I heard it was easier than P. And while I didn't think too hard about it at the time, that is actually a pretty good reason to take exam FM as your first actuarial exam, because then it's more likely that you're going to pass on your first attempt, and that can give you a lot of confidence and momentum, so it'll be easier to keep going and move on to the next exam. I'd imagine that if I had taken P first and failed, I would have lost a lot of confidence, and that would make it difficult to keep going and try again. This logic can also be flipped in that if you think that you already really understand a lot of the concepts that are tested on exam P, and those tested on exam FM seem a little bit more foreign, then it would actually make a lot of sense to take P before FM. And I can see the argument that some might make that you should actually take the exam that you think will be more difficult first, because then you get it out of the way and then the other exam will likely seem relatively easy in comparison. But I'm not necessarily so sure about taking the more difficult exam first, because if you do that and then take the so-called easier exam, it'll be harder to get used to the next, even more difficult exams, and it could lead to a failure or just make it a lot more stressful than it would be if you had taken the exams in order of easiest to most difficult. I'm also happy that I decided to take exam FM first because I didn't have very much time to study. So story time, when I was in my last semester of college that January, I had an interview with an actuarial company for a job with an anticipated start time of the 1st of June. Shortly thereafter, toward the beginning of February, they offered me the job and I took it. They also told me that for each exam that I passed prior to my start date, my starting salary, which was $60,000, would be increased by, I forget the exact amount. It was like $1,000 to $3,000. So I was like, wow, that is a lot. And I decided to try and pass an exam before my start date of June 1st. So that meant that I would have around 3 months to study for and take an exam. Now, one of the reasons why I hadn't yet taken any actuarial exams was because I literally did not know that that was a thing and that I would have an incentive to try and take one so soon. So since I learned that I would be taking an exam within the next 3 months, I wanted to make sure that that I took the one that would be easier for me and quicker to study for. And after doing some research online, I decided that since most people seemed to think that FM was easier than P, I would take FM. So I started studying really hard, but then I was thrown a bit of a curveball. See, it was 2020, so that meant that the disease had started to spread and was becoming an issue really quickly, and as you can imagine, my exam was canceled and postponed to a later date, which of course was after my start date. So that was a bummer because I didn't end up getting that starting salary increase because I couldn't take the exam prior to starting work. But anyway, those are the simple reasons why I decided to take exam FM before exam P. One, because I had heard that FM was easier for most people, and two, that I had very short notice before I needed to take an exam. Now, obviously not everyone is going to be in a similar situation to the one I was in, but I think that my reasoning could still be helpful in determining which exam you might want to take first. And honestly, if we really think about it, it really doesn't matter which exam you take first, since you'll have to take the other one eventually anyway, and it's not necessarily a decision worth obsessing over. So that's the video. Please be sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe for more like this. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.